Hey YouTube, so today we're going to look at private blog networks. If you're new into the niche site game, you might come across people saying that you need private blog networks, or PBNs in short. You need links from such sites to grow your business. So what really are private blog networks, and should you be using them in your business? Watch this video to find out. So private blog networks simply mean a network of blogs that are owned by one person or one company. So it can be like, let's say you have like 10 blogs, all of them you own them, and then you use those blogs to send links to your main money site, which is your niche site. Basically, that's what private blog networks are. But the thing is, Google doesn't like when you manipulate rankings. This is why they've banned things such as exchanging links, or getting some spammy links, or even now private blog networks. Basically, if you have a network of websites that are all linking to a money site, that is going against Google's terms of service. And when they find you, they can de-index your site or even get you out of the search engine rankings pages. So, still, regardless of what Google says, private blog networks work, but they only work if you build them the right way. By building them the right way, I mean that they should not have any footprints that are going to make it easy for the Google guys to identify that these sites all belong to you. You might be wondering what footprints are. When I say footprints, I simply mean some signs in your private blog networks that can identify that the sites belong to you. So we are going to look at the common footprints that you need to avoid when you're building a private blog network. So first off, one of the most important things you need to do is that all your websites, that's the websites in the private blog network, they have to be hosted at different host services. If you put all your domains under one host service, it's so easy for people to identify, or for Google to identify, that all those sites belong to you. So for private blog networks, what we want is that all the websites should be hosted at different host services that have different Class C IP addresses. So I'm going to demonstrate how you can look up an IP address of any website that you come across. So I'll use my website's niche site vault. Then you're going to see the IP address, and then from the IP address I'll explain to you what Class C means. So I've opened this site, check-host.net. Then I'm inputting my website there, nichesitevault.com. Press enter, and then you can see the results over there. So you can see my IP address is 188.114.96.3. So that's the IP address of the hosting service that is hosting the website. So an IP address has different classes, and the classes basically refer to where the digits are located in the whole IP address sequence. So in this case, 188, that's class A. It's called a class A IP. Then 114, that's class B. Then 96, that's class C. And then 3, that's class D. So usually the IP addresses, different websites can be hosted on the same IP address, which is fine. But if you have your private blog networks, you don't want all of them to be hosted on the same IP address. And here you want to look at hosts that have different class C IP addresses. So that means if I'm looking at a hosting service to host one of my domain names, I'm going to make sure that this number here is not 96, because I already have one of my websites on a 96 IP address. I hope that makes sense. So basically you want the IP addresses to be different over at class A, B, C, and D. So here the C part, that's where you want it to be different. So the other thing that can make it easy for Google to know that a couple of websites belong to you and are part of your private blog networks is if you block all the crawlers. Basically, search engines like Google and Yahoo and Baidu and the rest, they have these search spiders that go and crawl the web. So there are certain tools that you can use to block these crawlers. Now the issue is, if you're blocking all your websites, then that can be a red flag that something is going on here. So as you build your PBN network, you want to have some diversity. Some sites you can block the crawlers, and on some sites you can leave them open. That's how you create some diversity. The other thing that you want to make sure you have on your PBN network is quality content. Yes, I know everyone says quality content, but Google is really getting smart at discovering spam content. So the era where you used to get some low quality content spammed and thrown all over your PBN networks, that era is gone. Right now, Google wants to come to a website and see that all the articles you've posted there, they make sense. And if you have like tons of PBNs, of course the cost of getting the content can be quite high, but there are some tools you can use to speed up your content creation process. See things like all these copywriting AI tools like Jarvis can help you get quality content at a very cost-effective price. So another thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that your domain name registrar is different. Let's say you have like a network of 50 sites. You don't want all the 50 domain names to be registered at one registrar, let's say like Namecheap or NameSilo. The way to keep your PBN network hidden is to make sure that you're using different registrars to get your domain names. And of course, you also don't want all the domain names to be registered like on a single day. You want to have different registration dates with different registrars and stuff like that. All of this is just done to, throw up in case those Google spies come to your network. If they check the date of creation of the domain name, they see that these domain names are registered at different times, so they have no way of saying they are related. So that's why you want to use multiple registrars, and you also want to make sure that you're registering the domain names on diverse dates. So of course, if you have a small budget, you can be buying like, let's say, one domain name a month or 2 domain names a month, depending on how fast you want to grow. If you have a large budget, nothing should stop you from buying a couple of domain names every other day. Just make sure you don't want to have like 100 domain names registered on the same day. That can be a huge red flag, because Google can see like you have 50 domain names all registered on the same day and all of them are linking to your money site. Now that's a red flag that you want to avoid. So the other thing, you see, like every time you register a domain name, most domain name registrars have an option of WHOIS privacy. So some registrars will give you WHOIS privacy for free, and some will ask you to pay something small so that you get the privacy. So for me, my main domain registrar is NameSilo and internet.bs. These 2 registrars offer free WHOIS privacy. So with WHOIS privacy, what this basically means is that if someone searches for the owner of a website, if someone searches for the owner of a domain name, they're not going to find who the owner is. They can't find the email, they can't find the contact details and stuff like that. So I'll give you an example. Let me use, let me see. Yeah, let's use my site again. So my site, of course, is Niche Site Vault. If we go to whois.com/whois, and then you input any domain name. So in our case, we are putting Niche Site Vault. Since I have WHOIS privacy, no one who comes and checks this domain name is going to connect it to me. In case they want to send an email, they'll send an email to the domain registrar, who will then forward it to me. Okay, so here you can see the details of my domain name. You can see my registrar is internet domain BS. You can see when it was registered, updated. You can see my name servers. I'm using Cloudflare, that's why you can see their Cloudflare name servers. Then here is where you're interested in the registrant contact. So in case you don't have WHOIS privacy, then your name will be here and all your details. So for instance, name, it will be like Jesse Who, if you're Jesse. Organization, then the name of your business will be here, your street and all that stuff. But right now, if you check this one, you see for the name we have domain admin. Of course, there's no one called domain admin. Then organization, you see WHOIS privacy corp. Of course, that's not my organization. Street, you can see this a street in, I think this is Bahamas. City is Nassau. Of course, all of you know I'm in Eldoret. And what. So this is possible because internet.bs gives me free private WHOIS. But if I didn't have free private WHOIS, then all my details would be here. Now, when it comes to PBNs, you don't want all your domain names to have this WHOIS privacy. That is one of the red flags that Google can see from your network and connect it to you. So you want some of the domain names to have like some fake information, and then some of the domain names can have their information hidden. So just mix it up so that, making things look random. You don't want everything to be like so following a certain pattern. Patterns are what are recognized. So don't follow a pattern. Still on the things about registration, the other thing that can out your PBN network is when all your domain names have the same name server. So for instance, still back on my website, you can see the name servers over here from Cloudflare. So in case you have all your okay, before you even continue, the name servers usually depend on which hosting company you are using. So if you're using, like, let's say HostGator, the name servers are going to be ns1.hostgator.com and ns2.hostgator.com. So you can really know where someone is hosting based on the name servers that are connected to their domain name. So when you're building a private blog network, you want to make sure that you spread the domain names over different different hosting services so that they have different name servers. Also, you don't want to put all of them on Cloudflare. Like, if Google comes and sees like 100 websites, all the name servers are from Cloudflare and all of them have links pointing to your site, that can be a red flag, which can make them dig further. And in case they out the PBN, they can, like de-index your site, or you might lose rankings and all those bad stuff that you want to avoid. So of course, it's always better to be safe than sorry. So just make sure you mix up the name servers, make sure you get different hosting services. So we've now just looked at the main footprints that Google is going to use to out a PBN network. Now that you know that, you already know what are private blog networks. And just to recap, it's simply just a number of websites that are owned by one person, and all of them are used to send links to a specific website. So instead of you going and doing guest posts or skyscraper stuff, you just like write an article, post it on one of your websites, and then link to your money site. So that's what a PBN network is. Now, let's talk about building a PBN network. So of course, there are two things you need to do. First, you need to have good domains. Those are good domain names. And then apart from that, you need to have good hosting. So for domain names, you can get them from anywhere. But for me, I usually recommend domain costers. We did a video about domain costers a few weeks ago. And if you haven't checked the domain costers review, make sure you check this video over here. In the review, we found out why we love domain costers for buying domains, and why it's the #1 place that I recommend for anyone who's looking for expired domains. So we're not going to talk about expired domains. But for you to build a good PBN network, you need two things: good quality of domain names and good quality hosting. So for domain names, I've told you, just check the video review of domain costers. I'm also going to leave a link in the description section. You can check it out. Now let's talk about hosting. So I've just told you that our private blog network is simply a network of sites that point to your money site. So that means they're just simply usual websites. The only difference is maybe they can be coming from domain names that have very high quality links, and use them to link to your money site. So that's the only difference. So that means when it comes to setting them up, you simply want to set up your private blog network as your real money website. That means you need to use some good hosting. The website needs to look real. That means it needs to have some good themes. Then it needs to have some good content, social media accounts and stuff like that. So basically, you want all your PBNs to look as real as any other business website that is out there, such that if Google sends an employee to that website, they look at the website and they're like, yeah, this is a legit website, because they can see like some about us info, they can see some high quality content, related content and stuff like that. But now the problem comes when you have like 100 websites to set up. Things can get really tricky. You can waste a lot of time trying to set up a private blog network on your own. So to make things easier, you can either hire a VA, just go to Fiverr and look for people who do PBN setups. Or apart from that, if you prefer to keep costs down and do things on your own, then you can set up the websites on your own. But in this case, you're going to need some specific hosts that are tailored specifically for PBN networks. And in this section, we're going to look at some of the types of hostings that are available for PBN networks. So first off, like I've said, you can set up your PBN networks as real sites. That means for the hosting, you can use the regular hosting that you use. So you can use the normal shared hosting companies that are well known. So for instance, you can use companies like Bluehost, SiteGround, DigitalOcean, NameHero. All those premium hosting websites are good for setting up PBNs. Now, if you're interested in the companies that I use, just check the link in the description. When you click on it, you'll be directed to our website where you'll get my free checklist on PBNs together with a list of hosting companies that I recommend. Check the link in the description, follow it, download it, and you'll be ready to set up PBNs on your own without worrying about footprints or getting caught by Google. So the other type of hosting that you can use is what we call SEO hosting. So SEO hosting, unlike the normal shared hosting, these are companies that are specifically set up to handle different websites that are managed by a single person. With SEO hosting, what these companies will do, they'll give you an account that has different Class C IP addresses. So what that means is basically you'll have a single account where you can log in and upload a website, and each website will be given a specific IP address that is different from each other. In that way, if someone comes to your website and checks the IP address and checks another one, they'll see that they're totally different and won't be able to relate that they're owned by the same person. So apart from SEO hosting, the other option you have is to sign up as a reseller with any of these companies that offer reseller hosting. Just make sure if you're signing up with such companies that the reseller option allows you to give different IP addresses to the different accounts that you'll be creating. Now you know what a private blog network is and some of the things that you should keep in mind when you want to build one. In the next video, we're going to reveal some of the top PBN hosting services that are recommended in the industry. So if building a PBN network is something that you are thinking about, then you want to make sure that you watch the next video that I've just linked in the description section. Of course, if you have any questions about PBN networks and maybe let's say things about setup and stuff like that, let me know in the comment section below. I'll go through every comment and give you an answer. Finally, don't forget to download the checklist that I've just told you about. That checklist includes some of the things you should keep in mind when setting up your PBN network, as well as some of the reputable hosting services that I recommend for your PBNs. Until next time, if you haven't done so, make sure you click the like button. Of course, also subscribe because I'm trying to make some YouTube money. And every subscription plus a like helps with the algorithm and helps this video reach more people. Wish you success in your niche site journey.